This time we are working on the winter in the Central Park. And we will start with painting the sky, the skyline of the city, the foreground with the trees, and after all, the snow. We will need rough watercolor paper, watercolors French Ultramarine, jet black or Payne's gray, and optional Ivory Black. For the snow, we will use a permanent white gouache. Please use brushes that you are most confident working with. I recommend to have at least one pointy brush and at least one larger. I'm going to start spraying my paper with the mist bottle and spreading the water equally around the paper with the wider brush. I would like to get your attention to the tape Nichiban that I applied around the border to protect it from the painting. With a paper towel, I am going to collect the excess of the water from the sides. If to mix French Ultramarine and jet black or Payne's gray together, it's going to make it a nice blue-gray color that we are going to use for the background. Just go over the paper with a wet brush one more time. And starting from the top, which is the sky, start applying your gray color. You can make it more intense, but just remember that as much water do you add to your colors, as lighter it will appear. I always have a paper towel handy, because I need to not keep the water puddling on my paper. I'm adding a little more of the color on the lower corner as well. For the next step, you need to make sure that your paper is fully dry. On the dry paper, I have lightly sketched out the skyline. Using the same mix of French Ultramarine and Payne's gray, I am going to be following my sketch and start applying it to paint the buildings. No need to use a pencil to sketch it. You could, of course, just create your own buildings, but it does make it much more easier. And now, using water, I would like to make sure that the lower bottom edges are not going to be staying sharp and they need to be dissolving. Also, do not put water too low. I would like to save that white field. There is no need to follow your pencil sketch precisely, as it isn't a technical drawing that you're working on, it is a painting. So relax, use your imagination, and have fun. It is a good idea to add a little more blue, a little more gray. I am working in a very warm room, and by the time that I finished my skyline, part of the painting has dried already. And I'm adding some windows using the same color but a little more intense. And you see, when it gets to the lower part, it is spreading out, and that means that that part is still wet. So after I have arranged a few of the windows for the cityscape, I'm using a napkin to wipe off the excess, the spots that are a little more dark. Spend as much time as you need to add more and more details. But remember that this cityscape is very far away and it is disappearing in the snow. We are working on a monochromatic painting, that means using same colors over and over. And now it's the time to work on the front ground, the snow field that we left before. And I recommend to position your brush sideways and create the almost horizontal lines, lightly touching the surface of the paper. If you chose your paper correctly and it is a rough paper, you will see more textures as you paint. As more smoother does the paper become, as more flat and solid lines you will get. Now use water to smooth out the top part of the line. Again, using paper towel, I'm going to collect extra water or extra patterns that were created by paint. When I'm done working on the foreground, I will let my paper dry fully for the next step. I will use the mix of French Ultramarine and Ivory Black for painting the trees. This is when the pointy brush becomes handy. Trees perhaps are not the easiest shape to paint, and it takes practice. But since we have so many trees for this painting, I'm absolutely sure that by the time that you'll make the last tree in this painting, you'll make an absolutely perfect shape. The tree that is the closest to us is therefore going to appear wider and darker than the other trees. Wet paint always looks darker than when it's dry. That's why you can reapply more and more color over the same object until you are happy with the depths of the color. Few strokes for the brush on the foreground. Here I decided to add a deeper blue. You will study that as the painting develops, you would want to do adjustments to some parts of it. When you make closer objects darker, it visually helps to push a foreground further away. Permanent white gouache and aqua cover liquid paper are both great to paint the snow, and I'm going to mix two of them. Let's practice. You want the snow spreading equally without leaving big spots. That's why I recommend not to add too much water to the paint. You want it to be opaque. And ladies and gentlemen, let it snow. I am an artist from Siberia and I really love snow, and that's why I'm going to be very generous on my painting. I would like it to be snowing everywhere. With this technique my fingers got painted, but it totally worth it. When the paper is dry, I'm going to add some snow for the branches. The real masters of watercolor are reserving the areas for the snow. They're applying masking tape or masking liquid or just painting around. But this is an educational tutorial and we are just going to be painting with an opaque white over the paper. The painting is done. Let's remove the masking tape carefully and sign your painting. I hope that you found this tutorial useful and relaxing. Enjoy your winter, would it be in New York or anywhere else.